One of the strongest advocates of the Sanitation Hygiene Fund is the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed. She explains why it plays a critical role in helping to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you, Zeinab, and this is great for us to be able to address these issues, particularly on water and sanitation, close to my heart. Well, how are we doing? Before COVID, we were falling short, and now with COVID, these issues around the SDGs have been exacerbated. The GA moment on the SDGs showed that really at the heart of what we were speaking about was equality and making sure that everyone had access, everyone had a right to aspire to the goals that we have. And this has not happened in particular with COVID, showing those inequalities for women, for youth, the informal sector, and quite frankly, as we have seen in many emerging markets, that vulnerability is not just a question of the poorer countries, it's also become a big issue with our middle income countries. We can see that the COVID pandemic has created many opportunities for us to respond now with hope of a better recovery to get back on track with the SDGs.
So Deputy Secretary General, just spell out for us what steps are needed to move the needle on this.
I think the first step is to move the needle on trying to get in this decade of action to the SDGs is an acknowledgement and implementation of a global response. This is because we're seeing that with COVID, it went beyond the health crisis to the socioeconomic impacts that we're seeing country after country. And we're now just going into the second wave where lockdowns in developed countries are having huge impacts on developing countries. So the things that we need to do is to really bring up those socioeconomic response plans that treat development as an emergency, making sure in our stimulus packages that we are investing in the opportunities of social protection, that we're looking at connectivity and where children are out of school, so that we can actually talk about a recovery that puts an emphasis on issues like water and sanitation. The joint framework that the Secretary General launched on the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, water and sanitation, has 5 accelerators. And I underscore here accelerators because that's what we need to do to get the scale and urgency behind this. Financing, which really is about optimizing financing for water and sanitation, data and information, building trust through data generation, exchanging it for decision making, leaving no one behind. Capacity development, focus on human capacity to deliver on SDG 6, innovation, leveraging and the scale up of innovative practices and particular technologies, and governance, making sure that SDG 6 is everyone's business through the cross-sector, transboundary collaborations, clear roles, stakeholder involvement, and last but certainly not least, effective institutions.
So looking at this in terms of the world's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody's eyes are on the horizon for a number of possible vaccines, but vaccines alone are not enough in fighting the pandemic, are they? Sanitation and hygiene is absolutely critical.
Yes, I mean, sanitation and hygiene critical to the response that we want to see. First, because it is about human dignity. Second, it is a health issue. And so in the short term, getting us into the WASH programs, ensuring that that basic hygiene of washing your hands and being able to have a toilet that is accessible is key. In the longer term, it is about the infrastructure and what we put down within the evolution of our sustainable infrastructure, cities and rural areas. We need to make sure that water and sanitation is reticulated. It is about keeping girls in school. And it is also, I would say that, you know, for sanitation and hygiene, at the core of it is the multiplier effects that it will have for all the other goals.
So here we are launching this new Sanitation and Hygiene Fund. How important do you think it will be in helping to combat coronavirus and also future outbreaks of similar diseases?
Right now, the opportunity is to stop the pandemic. And so any fund that provides the capacity, the technical expertise to help countries better inform the plans, and for it to be an integral part of a stimulus package, of a plan that governments would have for water and sanitation is important. So I think the leveraging power of this fund would be really important for the scale at which investments need to be made to reach everyone, just leaving no one behind. This is a very exciting opportunity. Water and sanitation is at the heart of what we need to do for including our women, our girls, and ensuring that the Sustainable Development Goals become a reality in everyone's lives. The fund today, launching that, gives us yet another opportunity to make sure that we include all the investments that are necessary for water and sanitation to become a reality, a right that is delivered in all people's lives.